One of the lyrics that Manga is most known for is the lyric, "I've had the best grind project 2 years running," and by that he's referring to 2017 and 2018. 2020, he might have done it again.
A lot of my exes look the same.
So, Manga, Roll Deep, Grime MC, and Veteran. At this point, if you haven't heard of Manga, you've been living under a rock. Like, what have you actually been doing? Before we get into the album itself, make sure you like and subscribe if you're interested in any of the stuff I do on this channel. That will be a really great help to me. So to move on to the album itself, I think conceptually this album is beautiful. It has a message behind it, but it's a grime project through and through. The title, Make It Out Alive, it's generally based around the idea that he can look at his life retrospectively and look at things around him and experiences he's had and look at the struggles that life tends to throw at you and base it around the objective and the mindset that he's had, that I'm just trying to make it out alive, hence the title. I'm not trying to do anything flashy, I'm not trying to be the best ever, I'm not trying to be some guy who's got a load of racks or whatever, I'm just trying to make it out alive. And it's kind of offering advice from his own experiences that people should just do the same and don't dwell so much on the struggles that life throws at you, but doing that on a grime setting where his flows and his bars are all very much up to scratch, if so just completely excel. I feel like there are a lot of moments on this album when you're either thinking, wow, what he just said was really deep,
that's just deep, bro,
or you're kind of thinking, wow, that bar he actually spazzed and he'll just reloaded it about 10 times. Just from that same bar in the song, because it just caught you like that. In terms of different styles, in terms of the grime beats themselves, there's so much variance on there, and he really does play around with what grime is as a genre, because there's so many different sounds on there, different tempos and BPMs, that he really does just play with grime as a genre and the kind of definitions and boundaries of it. So there are some songs on here that I feel they're a lot more sincere and kind of hone in a particular message, and they have a more mellow and more serious tone to them, but the flows are still very much on point and are very interesting and compelling and quite skippy in a way and very technical, even though the message that he wants to deliver to you is very strong, and the kind of sincere and solemn tone of some of these songs reflects that. So songs like Escape Plan, Fool's Gold, and especially songs like Face Myself, they're a lot more sincere in tone, and the flows are still very skippy and very technical, as you would know and expect from grime, but I feel like the message is more prevalent and he doesn't take as much time to try and get clever with the bars, even though there are still some great one-liners that it's just like, wow, what he said is pretty deep, especially on Face Myself. Face Myself, that song is more about the idea that facing yourself and reflecting on who you truly are and trying to adjust for the sake of self-improvement can be really hard, and Manga even has some witty little lines in there that shows it from his own perspective, especially the line, "I use relationships to distract me so I don't have to face myself." It's the idea that we try and push what we really think about ourselves or even know about ourselves to one side so we can feel comfortable in the moment with how we live our lives, and that song is very much about that, and it's really interesting and really compelling. In terms of this kind of group of songs, Face Myself is probably the best in terms of production. Spyro made that one. I just really like that beat. It just jumps out at me, that one. Fool's Gold is another one that jumps at you. It's a little bit more upbeat than the other songs in this kind of subcategory, I guess, in terms of how I group them. But I feel like they accomplish the same thing. There are other songs on this that are lighter in tone, and they still have the message that punches there, but it's actually quite comical. I found these songs actually pretty funny. A lot of them made me laugh quite a lot, and the message is a bit more relatable and in a kind of a lighter tone, but still comes back to the whole concept as a whole and still relates to it. Tracks like Less Money, More Problems, Discarder has a really good hook here, and Kappa's verse is very much on topic with the song, the topic that he wants to try and get across to you. It's the idea that there's loads of problems that are affiliated with just not having money and the general grind that you have to do in the meantime whilst you have your dream and something that you want to pursue. I like the kind of jokes and the comical way he's talking about how streaming works. Like, yeah, I put all this work into this song and then I have to put it on Spotify and stream it for pennies and it's stupid. all this stuff about having to deal with crappy bosses at a part-time job because you need some money to fund the career that you know you love so much, but it just takes so much time, and you have to deal with shitty store managers. I love it. It's just so relatable, but it's still, yet again, really grimy, and the flows and the bars don't drop off. They're still there. Manga's still barring. He's still going to impress you. Safety in Numbers is another one that I feel fits into this category. I kind of like the kind of intro clip, kind of like the internet guys beefing like over FaceTime and whatnot. It's kind of the idea and the topic and message he wants to show with this one is like, please value your lives, proving you're tough for people that have probably never done half of that stuff in their entire lives is not worth it, and that's what he's trying to put across. But even then, he has some really clever one-liners. So kind of like, people try to call out my family name, even my Nando's gets grilled.
Now listen, that's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
And then there are some tunes that are just grime bangers that are a lot more rave ready, and even then some of them kind of just plays with genres a bit, and they still stay on topic, but it's more, can I deliver you grime tunes around this concept that loosely relate, that you can more enjoy in a more casual setting. And I feel like these tracks do deliver on that. Trample, definitely one of those tunes. I really like how God's Gift has come on a hook with a lot of his throwback bars that amongst grime fans he'll be very known for. So in a way, he's interacting with the older grime fans as well as the newer ones that were like the newer generation, the newer and interesting sounds that come with grime and how grime is these days. And I feel like having Jammer and Ira on there as well, it's everyone kind of links well together with God's Gift on a hook, and then Ira complements God's Gift really well. It just all works out really well, and in the end it's kind of a Skankers tune. It's definitely a Skankers tune, and that hook is definitely going to get reloads and a rave. Like, it's going to happen. At All Times is another one of those tunes. Izzy Gibbs, he's the feature on this as well. He's spazzed with the flows, he really does his bit. Manga, he's still coming in with the punchlines and everything you expect him to, especially punchlines like, I'm really ill, they don't know what sick is. It's just like, oh, for goodness sake, Manga, like, give it a rest, please. I don't know if our minds can fucking handle it. On Trample, one of the lines that stands out to me is another one of Manga's ones, as well as God's Gift hook. Load up the Mac 10 and look for my next hit like a crackhead. Like, oh, for fuck's sake. There are some tunes that really kind of play around with the genres a lot more, especially the one with Jafro that's on here. It's kind of got like a weird soca breakdown to it on Jafro's hook, which is amazing, by the way. Jafro has a brilliant voice. Like, it's so nuts that you have a grime MC that's so versatile and has a beautiful singing voice that just opens him up to do a lot more. Like, one thing I will say, grime MCs, stop randomly doing these auto-tuned hooks and just pay Jafro some money to give you a good hook. Just pay him. Pay the man. Thoughts and Prayers with Novelist is another one of those tracks. I feel like Novelist brings his sound with him, as well as like his charisma, his personality onto the track with him, and it really works well together. Like, Novelist is kind of known for kind of screwing around with genres and just treating grime like his little plaything in terms of sounds. He throws around so many different cultural and genre influences to grime that it's like, wow, this is still grime? Really? But you're still impressed at the same time. Whilst I do like the tag team of Manga and Merkage Dave, and they actually did a whole project together last year, this one, I wasn't really feeling the beat yet again. Just in general, Merkage Dave has a pretty decent singing voice as well as decent rap ability as well, and he partners really well with Manga. But the Sarah songs on the previous project they did together, that the instrumentals are just more compelling. For anyone who's interested in going back to that album and listening to it, it's called We Need to Look After Us. The songs that I really like are Nigger in a Suitcase and Sweet by Settings. Turning My Grave is the only other song that I'm just not really a fan of. I'm just not a fan of the beat and Blaze hook in general. That kind of stutter, well, it's not really a stutter, he's kind of just chopped that lyric. But I just don't really like it. With like the ad-libs as well from Blade. It's just not for me, to be honest. See, despite those tracks just not being for me, there's nothing objectively wrong with any of them. I feel like Dumb is the only beat that you maybe could argue is bad. Personally, I just hate it, but I'm pretty sure that maybe in a rave that might go off who knows, but it's got the right energy for it, and there's none of the songs that I feel don't relate back to the concept. The lyrical quality is spick and span throughout. The flows alter a lot to the skippy ones, to the kind of slower ones where he's a bit more bouncy, that sort of a thing. And it's just so constant and consistent across the entire thing that it's very hard to fault this album for any objective reason. So overall, I'm gonna go B/B plus, leaning on the B plus side of things. It is a bit petty why I'm doing that instead of just flatting out giving it a B plus, but I'm that teacher that just hates giving you good grades and would rather dock you a grade if I can. It's just, I'm an arsehole, get over it. The reason that it's not an A tier, if I've said in my previous reviews, in terms of my A tier, that's more like timeless music, stuff that stands the test of time and kind of influences music later on. And the only way you can ever figure out if music is timeless is time. So it may end up in A tier. We kind of have to just come back to this album in 5 years and see what it's done, how it's resonated with people, what impact it's had, etc, etc. So to go back to what we initially said in the intro, could this be the best grime project of 2020? Maybe. Definitely has the potential to be so, considering there's only about 10 MCs currently alive that could make an album better than this. I feel like if you don't like this album, you just don't like grime. And honestly, that's okay. But if you do like grime, and you have a friend that doesn't like grime, and you're trying to convince them to like grime, you point them to this album. Definitely this album. If you're watching to the end, if you think I'm talking complete shit and I'm just bum-licking Manga in the hopes of clout, then let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to debate people about my music opinions, so get down there. Like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I am working on an additional series that isn't just reviews, just to diversify the content on the channel. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next video.